Hey guys, Larry Elford here, your investment bodyguard. I want to make sure you don't end up like this gentleman 20, 30 years from now, and I'm going to show you how that happens to investment clients. Stick with me for a minute or two. Would you hire a lawyer who has a conflict of interest and is representing the other side? The answer is no. Common sense, and as a general principle, lawyer has a duty to give an undivided loyalty to every client. It's getting towards a fiduciary duty. Same thing on real estate agents. Some people let the agent act as a dual agent, working both sides of the transaction, but it's illegal without full disclosure. And make sure you understand it, because it can be difficult for the real estate agent to fairly represent the interests of both buyers and sellers. So what does this have to do with investing? What it has to do with investing is that you've got dual agency in, I would say, every investment advisor, and I'm looking at the ones that spell their name this way, and there's a name game here. Here's the Wall Street Journal. Jason Zweig, very well informed writer. He says, much like garbage men rechristening themselves as sanitation engineers, the folks who flog investments are tweaking their titles to make what they seem fancier and more, make what they do seem fancier and more impressive. Stockbrokers and financial planners are migrating from the word advisor to the alternative, subtly more impressive spelling advisor with an O. You've got to learn this stuff to determine whether you're being taken advantage of. Go to FINRA, the self-regulatory organization for broker-dealers in the U.S. Do a search. They'll tell you exactly what your firm and your individual is licensed as. And please ignore what it says on their business card, because there's a game being played between what they're licensed and legally obligated to do for you and what they call themselves. That's the sanitation engineer name game with investment people. Go to the Canadian side. If you live in Canada, go to registration, national registration search, put in the individual or the firm, do the same thing there. You'll find yourself getting a list that on this page, you can find a list that says understanding registration. Go down to it, and there's either a dealing representative, which is a salesperson, or an advising representative. Now, the license used to say salesperson, but they thought that was a little too clear, and you can't play a game on people if you are clear and honest and transparent. So they deleted this from 13 securities commissions and replaced it with dealing representative. You still have most people in Canada who sell investments calling themselves an advisor, which is supposed to be this title, but this title carries a fiduciary duty. I won't beat that one to death. And don't believe everything I say here. Go to 88 words from the SEC chairman, Mary Jo White. She explains it very well as to what the differences are and where you're protected and where you're not protected. And there's some videos here on how to steal $1 billion with a suitability issue. Go further to investment advisor bait and switch. Get your money back if you've been a victim of this. There's a number of videos here. Oh, I'd say there's a dozen tricks on how to pick your pocket with management expense ratios and everything. They're all fundamentally a result of coming at this name game, fooling people into what the title is and going from there. I have got, let's see, an iTunes. I'll play you out with this. The CFA Institute, the best trained people in the business. I'm not a CFA. I listen to their podcast. They have the best speakers in the world. Here's 1 minute I'd like you to listen to, and then your obligation to this video is over. 1 minute, please.
The primary differences in the standards of care to which investment managers are held in the industry.
Sure. I think generally we think of there being two primary standards, one being associated with the fiduciary standard of care, and the alternative being a suitability or fair dealing standard. And the differences are fairly pronounced. For example, with respect to the fiduciary responsibility, there's a singular duty of loyalty. And that is exclusively to serve the best interest of the client. And you can contrast that with, on the fair dealing side, to be able to divide loyalties or obligated to divide loyalties between the client's interests and recognizing that you have an agency responsibility to the firm you work for.
So it sounds like then under the fair dealing standard that the obligation to avoid conflicts of interests is not as high, but they should at least be managed. Would that be a fair statement?
Actually, under the fair dealing standard, there is a general obligation to try and manage the conflicts of interest, but in reality, the standard is lower overall than that. That you can, in fact, just disclose conflicts of interest with or without informed consent. And even beyond that, there are circumstances that there can be some conflicts that are not even fully disclosed, and sometimes those come in with respect to non-level compensation, where you may be paid more to do one type of investment.
So every advisor that's telling you, trust me, I'm an advisor, is representing an investment dealer out there. The dealer is the 800-pound gorilla. The 800-pound gorilla gets to do whatever it wants, and your interests will come second. Please join me at Facebook, Twitter, Larry Elford on YouTube. Find out how to protect yourself. Thanks for listening. I've taken up enough of your time.